Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport, and I have just watched the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and frankly I wish I hadn't bothered. I haven't done a lot of uploading this week. I've not been well again, but there will be stuff coming out for week coming. But to start things off, let's talk about the Formula 1. I won't talk about the sprint race stuff because I want to do that in a separate video, because I've got a few different things, and I didn't want to make this one too long because I honestly don't have that much to say. This race was tedious as all hell, and with a lot of racing this weekend anyway, having extra Formula 1 to watch was kind of a pain in the butt. But I haven't been well, and I was looking forward to sitting down, relaxing and watching the Formula 1. It was so dull. Honestly, when the highlight of the race is Lando Norris getting past Nico Hülkenberg for 10th, it's a poor day in Formula 1 history. And there was other things at the end of the race which were incredibly shambolic and pretty disturbing. And I'm sure big changes will be happening for the next race in Miami next week. But let's talk about the race first. Perez won in Baku again. He just seems to work on this track. It's whatever it is that suits his driving style, he's got it down. And honestly, if every race was at Baku, Perez would easily win the championship. Red Bull again dominated, and no one was close to them. I think Charles Leclerc was in third and he was 20 seconds back or so. Red Bull are embarrassing the rest of the field now. This was so easy for them. And yes, Perez got lucky with the pit stops. And given that there was no overtaking pretty much at all, then if there wasn't the pit stops, he probably wouldn't have got past Verstappen. But as it is, first and second, and it's pretty close between the two in the title race, which keeps it interesting at least for a little while, depending on what else happens during the season. Ferrari don't look awful. They managed to keep their positions once the race had settled down. Alonso was catching Leclerc, but it looked like Leclerc had it in hand. And Sainz was in fifth. He held off Hamilton pretty much easily. Hamilton never really looked like a serious challenger. He got close a couple of times, but he wasn't really a threat to the Ferrari. We had Lance Stroll and George Russell behind that. It was a good race from Stroll, although George Russell was a little disappointing. He ran a lot better in the sprint race than he did the main race. And we had a very sick Lando Norris rounding... No, he was in 9th, and Yuki Tsunoda scoring points for the second race in a row in 10th. So they were pretty good. But just to sort of highlight a few of Formula 1's issues right now, 8 drivers scored points in the sprint race, and they just happened to be the top 8 in the Drivers' Championship. And in the main race, the top 9 in the championship finished 1st to 9th. Not in the order they are in the championship, but pretty close to it. There's a clear divide, and it's not just Red Bull and the rest of the field. It's Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, Aston Martin. Those 8 cars are a step above all the others. Behind them, McLaren seem to be catching up with Alpine, which might make it a bit more interesting. But then you have AlphaTauri, Haas, Alfa Romeo and Williams, who aren't really on the pace, and they only score points if other cars fall to pieces. It doesn't really make an interesting championship, because you kind of... I mean, any racing series where you can go into the weekend and know what the result's going to be, it's pretty poor. And yet, World Endurance Championship, we know Toyota are probably going to win pretty much... Chances are every race for the rest of this year. But the racing in the World Endurance Championship is still really good. I watched the entirety of the Spa 6-hour race, and had infinite more entertainment value as a motorsport fan from that than I did the Formula 1 race in Azerbaijan, or both Formula 1 races in Azerbaijan. It was just a very bad race. And at the end of the race, Hülkenberg and Ocon had not pitted, and Ocon rated till the last lap, but for some reason photographers are allowed in the pit lane and they almost got run over pretty much. And that sort of thing you expect to see in documentaries about racing in the 70s, but not now. And I'm sure the FIA are going to have a massive crackdown or new rules and procedures for Miami onwards, so that doesn't happen again. But it was a lucky escape. If one of those photographers wasn't looking, Ocon, I mean, he probably could have stopped, but obviously that would mess with the race result in a way. Even though Ocon was never going to score points, it kind of still screwed with it a bit. And then we had the usual BS from Ted Kravitz, a man who is so anti-Red Bull. I'm pretty sure he's getting paid by Monster at this point. But he mentioned it 2 or 3 times that the Red Bull mechanics were climbing the fence and that is against the rules. But Christian Horner has come out and said their feet were firmly on the ground and therefore they were not breaking the rules. And as far as I've seen, I think the FIA noted it, but they're not investigating it. But I've said before that Ted Kravitz has his head so far up his own arse that he can smell the $30 croissants he had for breakfast. Get rid of him. And you have, I can't remember the lady, it's like, is it Bernie Collins, the former Aston Martin employee? They have her doing pretty much the same job as Ted Kravitz now, so they kind of take it in turns. She is so much better at it, mostly because she's impartial and she just gives you information as it's happening. Ted Kravitz hates Red Bull, hates Max Verstappen because he's a massive Lewis Hamilton fan. Max Verstappen obviously screwed Lewis Hamilton in Abu Dhabi in 2021, and Ted Kravitz has kind of been on a crusade ever since to take pot shots at him at every opportunity, as does Martin Brundle from time to time, and I'm kind of glad he's not around at the moment. Karun Chandhok was doing commentary and I prefer it. Keep Karun, get rid of Martin. Martin is so done with Formula 1. He's not shown a shred of passion for going on 13 years at least, and even then I would have to check back, and because in hindsight, did he ever really seem that into it? It's been a while since he was into it anyway, and Karun is a lot better. I prefer Karun Chandhok to Martin Brundle, and I prefer Bernie Collins to Ted Kravitz. I think the makings of a really good commentary team are there. They just need to get rid of some of the old faces that have been around for a bit too long and are clearly biased. Is there anything else to say about this race? I don't have high hopes for Miami. I'm pretty sure the race at Miami last year was pretty tedious, and I say that because I cannot remember a single thing that happened at it. Unless... No, I have no recollection of the Miami race last year. It's stupid as well. We're in Azerbaijan, which is kind of between Europe and Asia, I think. Is it near Turkey? I don't know. I'm not a geographer or whatever. But we're now flying over to America for the Miami Grand Prix, and then we're flying back to Italy. Are we meant to be doing like sustainable fuels and stuff? And environmentalism and whatever else the FIA can drum up at the drop of a hat. You'll notice no protesters glued themselves to a racetrack in Azerbaijan, because that would have definitely not ended well. And something else you never really see mentioned with the Azerbaijan Grand Prix or any sports event in Azerbaijan We talk about sports washing when the racing's in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia or Bahrain. But Azerbaijan has committed genocides against Armenians for quite a long time. We never really seem to talk about that. So, for anyone who says it's not alright for Formula 1 to race in the Middle East, it happens in other countries too. In fact, pretty much the whole calendar, probably at some point. This is just turning into a rambling mess. I'm going to bed now. I'm still quite sick. And hopefully the Miami Grand Prix surprises me and is a fantastic race, and I have a very excited time talking about it next week. But I do not have high hopes. But the bar is pretty low right now. So thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe. I have rambled on for plenty long enough. I'll be back with more content very soon. I want to do a video about the sprint race format and the F1 Academy. I'll do a roundup of all the weekend's actions because there's quite a lot of it this weekend. I'm still watching stuff. I haven't watched IndyCar yet. I'm watching that next. And I have other stuff planned as well. The Carspiracy Theories will be back at some point. It's written. I've started editing it, but I was not well enough to finish it. And that will be out this week. I'll probably do another One Race Wonder at some point as well. And of course, we'll be back talking about Formula 1 next weekend. So make sure you subscribe. Thank you for watching and have a good one.